Oh God, I hate winter. Finally back, 90% recovered, 95% recovered, and sick again for a week. But we're here, healthy and grateful, especially for the new year. Hopefully, won't be sick for a long time. So today, what are we going to talk about? Whether or not Hyrox is a fad or something to stay. And as a sports scientist and exercise specialist, I will answer this question today in this video. And this is just my opinion. Obviously, other people will have different opinions, but I'm going to share mine. I think Hyrox is something that will stay and will stay for a very long time. Now, whether or not someone like a lot of these Hyroxers will end up jumping onto a different sport or a new sport later on, I don't know. But I definitely think this is something to stay. Uh, a lot of people in the fitness community like to make fun of Hyroxers, and I was part of that too. I mean, obviously, it's just easy because they're so easy to rage bait. But in my honest opinion, I think Hyrox is a great sport, especially for health. And I'm not part of Gen Z or Alpha, but they talk about health maxing, right? And I think Hyrox is one of the best ways to health max for general population people. It combines resistance training and cardio. If you want to improve your health, the best thing you can do is exercise. And the two types are going to be resistance training and cardiovascular exercise. What type of cardio you choose is up to you, and what type of resistance training is also up to you. Now, with resistance training, it's generally pretty straightforward. Weight training is going to be easier and more accessible for most people, but calisthenics is an option, which for those of you who don't know what calisthenics are, it's basically slightly watered down gymnastics. Um, I don't know if calisthenics people will get offended by that, but it's pretty true. As for cardio, do any type and it'll work. Now, obviously, this is for another video, and what type of cardio is best for you is one that we can talk about for ages. But for most people, do do a cardiovascular exercise modality in which you can sustainably do for the rest of your life. So if you enjoy playing tennis, if you enjoy playing basketball, football, do those things because that's what's going to keep you consistent and make you do it over a long period of time. A lot of people ask, oh, what's the best type of cardio? Well, it's the one you can do for a long time. But anyway, back to the point. So with Hyrox, why is it so good? Well, it includes all forms of resistance training, well, most forms of resistance training, as well as a lot of cardio. For those of you who don't know what Hyrox entails, you will run a total distance of 8 kilometers, and you have a total of 8 stations, weight training stations that you need to complete. Well, not all of them are weight training, but a few of them are cardio related, but that's what you need to do. So actually, let's simplify it. You need to do 8 stations in between each 1 kilometer run, which totals you 8 kilometers. You have a ski erg, which is a skiing modality. Then you've got a sled push and sled pull. You've got a burpee broad jump. So you do a burpee and then you do a broad jump. So that's a horizontal jump forwards. For those of you who don't know what a broad jump is, a row, uh, indoor rowing machine, and then you got your farmer's carries, lunges, and wall balls. So you do have 2 stations in which you are doing cardio, but the rest of it is either some sort is a form of resistance training, whether or not be endurance based. Well, actually, no, they're all endurance based except burpee broad jump, which is a bit more plyometric based, but it's still technically endurance. So most of it is muscular endurance based. And why is this great for health? Well, there's plenty of studies to show that resistance training and cardio improves what we call increases the amount of BDNF that your brain produces, which is just a form of protein, which allows us to create more brain cells. That's the easiest way to understand it. It's a very complex topic, which I still don't fully understand. That's not my expertise. Um, but BDNF increases the amount of brain cells you can replicate, which, as you've probably figured, improves brain health. As for resistance training, that obviously improves your bone mineral density as well, not just BDNF, but bone mineral density and also muscle mass. So if you do them correctly, you should be building enough bone mineral density as well as muscle mass to ensure that you live longer. And there's again plenty of studies to show that the more muscle mass you have, the more likely you will live longer and have a better quality of life whilst doing so. As for cardio, that also can improve bone mineral density depending on what form of cardio you do. Generally speaking, most people will go with running because it's the most accessible, it's cheap, and yeah, you can do it anywhere. And when you run with good form and you do it for long distances, that does improve your bone mineral density in the legs. It also improves your balance, and it also improves, like we said, BDNF, and it promotes better brain health as well as coordination. So overall, awesome for that. However, cardio doesn't really involve improving muscle mass, at least most forms of cardio, unless if you're doing, let's say, sprints. But other than that, most forms of cardio will not improve muscle mass gains, and that's why resistance training is really important, which in comes Hyrox, where they combine both of them. And the beauty of Hyrox is that it's super accessible for anyone. It doesn't require that much skill to do those 8 exercises, and it doesn't constantly change, because the easiest or closest form of uh, closest sport that can be compared to Hyrox would be CrossFit. And obviously, a lot of CrossFitters were the butt of the joke last decade, but now all the CrossFitters, at least from what I've seen on YouTube, make fun of Hyroxers in jest, of course. And you definitely see some Hyroxers get butthurt, which is quite funny, and that's why they're super easy to rage bait. But it's true, Hyrox is a watered down form of CrossFit. CrossFit is really hard, really tough, and not accessible for most people. I would not suggest doing Hyrox for 99% of people. And the ones that you see doing it at the top level, they've got both a combination of elite genetics as well as a great um, supplement stack, you know, PEDs. Like, there's just no way you're doing it without PEDs at that level. And injuries as well. It's rife because you're doing crazy stuff like handstand push-ups, handstand walks. What else? Like an insane amount of what's it called? Muscle ups. It's just an absurd sport, and I just can't fathom how people manage to do this for a long period of time. And mad respect to those CrossFit athletes. But for general pop, yeah, it's just not happening. Well, lo and behold, someone came up with Hyrox, and there we go. You know, the 8 exercises, they're really easy to do. It doesn't take that long to learn. Obviously, if you want to move efficiently and do them well, that's a different story. But even then, it's still not anywhere near as hard as CrossFit. It's accessible. Anyone can do it. There's so many events now. The community is amazing, and you get a lot of support there. So I definitely see Hyrox staying for a very long time. And I would even encourage my clients, actually one of them I did it with as well, and I, you know, would thoroughly encourage more people to do as well, whether or not be the relay first. You start with the relay, which means you only have to do 2 kilometers total and 2 stations, and you share it between 4 people. Then you can graduate towards the duo, and then you can go to singles. It's just a great way to slowly, progressively overload yourself into more and more running as well as resistance training. And obviously, people who do Hyrox tend to not just do it, but they also do other things too. I know a lot of Hyroxers end up playing tennis, or they play pickleball, or they go into powerlifting, or they used to be powerlifters. There's just so many options, and you don't have to narrow yourself into that, because if you ever decide, you know what, I want to switch to a different sport, you're ready to do that. You've got the strength, you've got the muscle, but you've also got the cardio. So that's why I definitely think it's a form of it's a sport that will stay for a long time. And they now call it hybrid training, which is getting quite popular. And even I'm starting to consider doing it. Not that I think I'd ever compete in Hyrox, but hybrid training is just such a great way to be healthy. I've decided to start running 3 days a week, and also continue weight training 3 or 4 days a week. Now, the only thing is balancing recovery, which is something that requires a lot of learning, and I still struggle with that. But the good thing about running at long distances is that in order to improve, most of the time you just need to be training at zone 2. And that's a great way for me, especially with my personality, where I like to go either completely all in or do nothing. Forcing myself to run in zone 2, knowing that it'll help me improve my running, is awesome for my recovery as well as fatigue. And it'll still allow me to resistance train at a relatively intense level, so long as I'm eating right and sleeping well. It's great. And I don't really have anything else to say other than I would highly recommend considering hybrid training if you're someone who just wants to maximize your health. Run, do your weight training, and I promise you, you'll have amazing health. Now, obviously, if you want to truly dial down on that, there's many other things like getting enough sunlight or eating more anti-inflammatory diet, eating enough protein, sleeping well, making sure your sleep hygiene is good. But that's again another topic for another time. But for now, I highly recommend going and trying out Hyrox if you've never been. Sign up for your first one. And hey, I'm not a Hyrox ambassador or anything like that. I just definitely think as a trainer, as a sports scientist, as well as an exercise specialist, I highly would recommend signing up for your first one. Because if you've never even done any exercise, and if you sign up for one 3 to 6 months from now, you force yourself to go. And especially if you sign up for a relay or a duo, you have other people to hold you accountable. And I promise you, just because you've never done it before, it doesn't mean you should be scared, because the community is amazing. From what I've seen, everyone's really friendly, super nice, and they're very welcoming too for with new people. So go for it, get ready to health max and really improve your health. For now, take care and peace.